Good evening and welcome to the Stearns County Board of Adjustments meeting for Thursday, December 3rd, 2020. And we'll begin with a roll call. Dennis?
Here.
Jill?
Here.
Mike?
Here.
Dave?
Here.
Jake? Is Jake with us this evening? Okay. And Sean?
Here.
Okay, and we'll watch for Jake to possibly join us.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
it looks like your video is not on yet.
Okay, I will take care of that. Thank you. Okay. And okay, good evening and welcome to the Stearns County Board of Adjustments public hearing. I have a couple announcements to make. That all testimony is being tape recorded for the record. If you're going to give testimony, you will ask to state your name and your address for the record first, and then go ahead with your testimony after you've been recognized by the chair. Members of the Board of Adjustments are appointed by the County Board of Commissioners with one member from each of the 5 commissioner districts, one member at large, and one member appointed by the Planning Commission. In response to COVID-19 and pursuant to Minnesota State Chapter 12 relating to emergency management, Governor Walz has declared a state of emergency. In response to the state of emergency and in accordance with Minnesota Statute Chapter 13D.021, all Board of Adjustments members, except for the chair and certain applicants who plan to participate by phone, in-person public comments will not be heard to conform with the MDH and the CDC guidelines to minimize gatherings. Members of the public were asked to submit comments by 3 o'clock today. And this meeting will be broadcast. I'll give you some overview of our basic proceedings for this evening. I'll start out by reading the variance request, and then that will open the public hearing. Once I open the public hearing, I'll read the request, and the applicant would be on board to answer any questions. The applicant and representative will then be asked to state their name and address for the record. Environmental Services will provide a brief overview, and then we will go to the applicant for any comments that they might have. Once the applicant or their representative have provided the testimony, the board will discuss the request and ask questions of staff or the applicant. Upon completing that, we will ask if there's anyone else, either present or via telephone, that would like to give testimony. Once that is completed, I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing. Once the public hearing is closed, there will be no more testimony from staff or the applicant unless requested by the board or the chair. Okay. The first item on our agenda for this evening is to join together for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the July 2020 meeting minutes for the Board of Adjustments. Are there any corrections or additions recommended by board members?
Madam Chair, Mike Hain, I just have a question.
Go ahead.
On staff, on page 13, item number 3, it says overall board consensus, yes, no. All 7 members voted yes, no. It doesn't specifically say if we voted yes or no, it just says yes, no. And that's on both sets of minutes. And so the same question, is that a mistake or is that how we want it in the minutes?
Are you referring to after each question, then it says yes, no?
Correct. And on the minutes, number 3, it just says overall consensus and it has both yes, no. It doesn't say we voted yes or we voted no. I'm just wondering if that's a mistake or if that's how we want it. All the other ones say yes or they say no. It's page 13 of 28. I don't know if Angie, if that's something you respond to or.
Actually, Shelley Benson, Environmental Services Director. I did take a look at the minutes, but I must have missed a section. So what we can do is we can go back and check that and find out what the exact vote was and get that corrected. So if you would be okay with that, we can make that correction when we find the answer to that.
Okay, then also on the August, the same thing on page 15 of 16, number 4. It says the same thing, so.
Okay, we will look at that and get those corrected for you. So you have a choice, Madam Chair, if you would like to pass with those corrections, we could do that, or we could wait and bring it back to you in the January meeting corrected.
I'll move to correct and move forward.
Okay. So we have a motion for let's do the July minutes first so that we do them separately. We have a motion on the floor to approve the July minutes with the recommended changes. Do we have a second?
I so move. Dave Gamrat.
So we have all right, we have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the minutes for the July meeting have been approved. Now let's address the minutes for the August meeting. Do we have any other changes other than what was already discussed? Hearing none, could we have a motion to approve with the recommended changes?
Madam Chair, Mike Hain, I will approve with that change.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Dave Gamrat, I will second.
All right, we have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So motion passes. So we have approved both sets of minutes. Our next item on our agenda is to consider a request from Leon and Sandra Faust, St. Cloud, Minnesota, from sections 10.2.11A2 of the Stearns County Land Use and Zoning Ordinance 439 to construct a 54 by 26 residential dwelling with attached garage for a total of 1,404 square feet and a 16 by 8, which is 128 square feet deck ahead of the established building line. The said ordinance requires a new dwelling and a deck to be constructed at or behind the established building line. The affected property is lots 4 and 5 of Shady Grove, section 25, track 123 north, range 31 west of Munson Township. The property address is 21449 State Highway 22, Richmond, Minnesota. And are our applicants with us this evening? Mr. Fost, you are on mute.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, we'll be back to you then in just a couple minutes.
Okay.
Staff, if you could give us your overview. Oh, and before we go to that, we should do roll call on who was able to visit the site. Dennis?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
And I was there as well. And has Jake joined us? No, it doesn't seem like it. All right, thank you. Go ahead, staff, with your report.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. The applicants currently own lots 4 and 5 of Shady Grove. Shady Grove was platted in 1960. The tract contains a total lot area of approximately 20,816 square feet on Horseshoe Lake. The property is in an R1 zoning district. The applicant purchased the property in 2020. There's an existing 1,232 square foot residential dwelling with attached garage and a 185 square foot deck. The existing dwelling is located approximately 47 feet and the deck approximately 42 feet from the ordinary high water level of Horseshoe Lake classified recreational development. The dwelling and deck were constructed prior to the official controls in 1965, according to the Stearns County Assessor's records. The subsurface sewage treatment system that services the existing dwelling is a 2,000-gallon holding tank that was permitted and installed in 2010. The holding tank was certified compliant in 2019. The applicant is proposing to construct a 54 by 26 1,404 square foot residential dwelling with attached garage and a 16 by 8 128 square foot deck. The proposed dwelling will be located approximately 59 feet from the ordinary high water level, and the deck will be approximately 51 feet from the ordinary high water level of Horseshoe Lake. The property is in the Shoreland Overlay District of Horseshoe Lake, classified recreational development. Horseshoe is on the list of impaired waters for nutrients and mercury in fish. The existing holding tank system was permitted and installed in 2010. The system is sized adequately to accommodate a 3-bedroom dwelling. The current impervious lot coverage for the property is approximately 18%. The proposed impervious lot coverage when the project is complete will be approximately 22%. An alternative to the request is to replace the existing structure in its current location to its current dimensions. Munson Township, Sauk River Watershed District, Sauk River Chain of Lakes Association, the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, and property owners within 500 feet have been notified of this request, and we have not received any other correspondence with regards to this request. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, staff. Mr. Fost, if you could share with us anything you would like in regard to your application.
I guess I would like to give you a little bit of history of this thing. It's been in my wife's family, since about the 60s, some of the late 60s, I believe. We just bought it in March. The place has been neglected for the past at least 20 years that I'm aware of. It was boarded up when we bought it. I've already removed 3 dumpsters worth of products or stuff. I have removed 30 tires off the property, 2 pickup loads of steel. There was an old boat, an old van, an old trailer. I have removed all of that. But as we started, cleaning the place up and looking at the structure, it just isn't structurally sound to continue to remodel it. The foundation is cracked. There's some floor joists that have been cut off. There's no headers on windows on the lower level. There's bedrooms without windows in the basement. The bedroom upstairs does not have an egress window. The plumbing's not vented, so that the toilets and the sinks don't drain properly. So we kind of came to this point here where we need to remove this structure and start over. I just can't overcome the cracked foundation, and it didn't make sense to build on that. I'm in front of the variance board here for although we own 2 lots, they're not big enough, I guess, to meet the current setback requirements. And as you notice on the drawings, I have a power line that's owned and operated by Stearns Electric. I don't know the history of it, but somehow it runs pretty much through the middle of our property and services a house on an island. Stearns Electric has told me I can't build underneath that, so I've been trying to come up with a plan here that would work. So what I'm proposing, or what I proposed, is to try to do an average setback of my 2 neighbors. And so that kind of brings us to this point here today.
Okay, thank you. Board members that have questions for either staff or our applicant?
Madam Chair, Mike Payne.
Go ahead, Mike.
Just a question for the applicant. It looks like you moved the new house back approximately 10 feet from the existing home. Is that as far back as you can move it? You can't move it any closer to the buildable area, even though it won't fit completely in it?
Yeah, the reason I'm doing this, any further back would put it underneath that power line. So that's where I've come up with this. Plus, I start to get into some mature trees that would have to be removed to move it any further back.
Okay, thank you. Other questions?
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Jill.
Jill DeLong. So the question that I have is, has the question been raised to Stearns Electric at all if that power line could be moved or modified?
Yeah, I guess it comes to, they said anything can be done. It could be, I think it can be moved. I'm not sure how or where it would go. The house or that island is pretty much directly in line with this power line as it runs now. I had them out there. They told me, there's only so far they can go between the poles. So I think they're limited to where they can put that pole that would be on the shoreline to make it span all the way across the open water. So I don't know all the options about moving that. They're not willing to do it just for me to build this house.
Okay, thank you. And then I have another question too. It looks like there's some kind of a garage or boathouse that's down your hill closer to the water. Is that part of your property, or does that belong to the island owner?
No, that's part of our property.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I believe there was another board member that had questions.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, a question for the applicant. If you are granted a variance and you build a new structure, are you also going to repair the landscaping between that structure and the lake?
Yes, you're very quiet, but I think I heard your question. You're asking if I'm going to do something with the landscaping, and the answer is yes. I mean, it is. By moving it back, I'm hoping to get that slightly flatter there, and I'm hoping to also plant or do something different. That's too steep to mow there. So I did talk to, and his name escapes me now. He's with Environmental Services. I happened to be out on the property when he stopped by, and he gave me some brochures of plants and things that they recommend. It also protects the lake. It solved my problem of the mowing issue. And I think, and also the problem of runoff into the lake. So yes, there'd have to be some work done with that, with the landscaping after we're done or during the construction.
So a follow-up then, can you hear me better now? I went closer to my computer.
I can hear you. Still quiet, but I can hear you.
Okay. So I think the person that you probably talked to was Greg Berg, and so he has a recommendation to put in a buffer zone between your structure and the lake, and I don't have it right in front of me, but I think it was like 25 feet. Is that something that you're okay with, or did you have other thoughts about how to protect the water?
No, I actually liked that idea. And it was, similar to what I was thinking of doing. I wasn't, sure what to plant there. And he gave me a brochure and a website and things where, I can get the recommended plantings for that. So that was in line with what I was thinking, because it's just too steep to mow. So, a good option is to let it, with wildflowers or plantings, I don't have to mow it and I protect the lake at the same time. So I was all in on that idea.
Yeah, I just looked at the information. It says 32 feet, not 25. So
yeah, there was I was out there when he came in. There's two mature trees at the, about halfway to the lake, and that's where it starts to drop off. So he was suggesting at that point where those trees are, from there on down the hill is where I would have these plantings and things. So
okay, good, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other members have questions?
Madam Chair, Dave Gamrod.
Go ahead, Dave.
I'd have a question have you any plans for rain gutters and that on this house to direct water properly away from the lake?
Yeah, I guess I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm just trying to see if I would get the variance here before we get final plans. Currently, there are gutters on the existing house. They're not run. They just run into the lake, so it's not doing anything for that issue. I think that I was assuming that the plantings would take care of the runoff water on the lake side. And then, a gutter, or he talked about kind of a rainwater pond type thing on the roadside to catch that water. So I don't know if it'd take gutters to get to that. I don't know. He's showing that pond kind of to the north of the property, which I don't know if that could be more just directly east of the house, kind of like what would be the front yard on the roadside. It'd make more sense, I think, to direct the water. It'd get easier to get it to that point than it would be across the driveway into to a rainwater pond on the other side of the driveway.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional questions?
So has Soil and Water given us a plan on water on this project?
Staff is nodding their head yes, that they have.
Okay.
Could I say one more thing about the power line?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I did. When we started talking about this project, I did look at all the drawings that I have, the plat drawings, all the paperwork, everything. I could not find a legal easement for that power line. So I was hoping that, that they would move it out of there for me. So when I had Stearns there, they told me that that's correct. There is no easement, but he looked at the dates on the telephone poles, and they've been there. One of them, especially the one on the island, has been there since 1946. So he said back then they weren't doing easements. People just were interested in getting power. And he said now that they're there, they have a legal right to be there, even though there is no easement. So Stearns has a legal right to be there from what they're telling me.
And it seems that staff is nodding their head, so they're agreeing with that statement that the Stearns Electric has a legal right to have the power pole right where it is. All right, any additional questions before we close the public hearing?
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, if I may make a comment, I think this is an appropriate comment. The applicant has taken the measurements of the two neighboring houses from the ordinary high water level and averaged out the setback. The crazy thing is, as I was reading this report, I was writing that very note down before I got to the applicant's note on what he had done. And I do think that Environmental Services and the Stearns County Board of Commissioners should rethink that building line when there is shore that is variant. It's not straight. And so I think that not only this situation, but other situations, should really look at that building line to go along with the shore rather than being a straight line.
Okay, thank you. And I think this is an appropriate time to address that to the Planning Commission and to the commissioners, because they're right in the process of making plans for our new ordinance. Any other questions or comments? I'm hearing none. Are we ready to close the public hearing?
Make a comment yet?
Yes, go ahead.
In relationship, to the setbacks of the existing structure, I think most of you've been out there, but it is somewhat of a unique situation where I'm somewhat on a peninsula and that the house to the north of me is actually kind of around the corner. So that provision didn't work very well for me, if I understand what you were just talking about, that you'd follow the lot line, is that, or the shoreline, instead of drawing it straight across. So that would be something that would help me.
I believe that's what was being suggested by the board member, is that going forward from here, it won't affect your property because we're probably going to act on that this evening, but looking forward into the future, that homeowners could avoid this situation in the future by us adapting something different to the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Go ahead, Jill.
Jill DeLong. I just want to take into account what the applicant did say, where one of the houses that the sight line is based off of is faced to the side, so faced away from the applicant's building. I think that's a big part on what the sight line should be or where the building line should be, because if they're all faced the same way and one house is significantly further than the others, it can really impede the view of the lake for the two other homes that aren't as far out. So I think orientation of the properties, it would be appropriate to take that into consideration if that this was to be adjusted.
Okay, thank you. So do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Madam Chair, Mike Kane, so move.
And a second?
Second, Dennis Gregory.
All right, is there anyone opposed to closing the public hearing? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. We have an option to either do the deck along with the residential dwelling and garage in one finding, or to separate them. I didn't hear anything in our discussion that would, I think, push us to separate them. Is anyone opposed to doing them as one finding? Okay, hearing no opposition, we will do it as one finding of fact. So the finding of fact will be for the variance requested to construct a 54 by 26 square foot residential dwelling with attached garage and a 16 by 8 deck ahead of the established building line. The proposed use is allowed in the zoning district in which the subject property is located, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Mike Kane, it's R1 zone district and new construction is allowed.
All right, we have a yes for number 1. Is anyone opposed to yes for number 1? Hearing none, I'll mark that as unanimous yes. Number 2, the variance will be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls or any related ordinances, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, I think the applicant has done a number of things that is in compatibility with the general purposes and intent of the official controls. He's moved the house further back from the lake to a spot that works well, given the power line, given a number of other factors. He is, the number of feet from the shoreline is similar to his neighboring properties, and he is willing to put in a buffer zone, which will only improve the aspects of clean water. So I think it's very much in compliance with the general purposes and intent.
All right, and do we have anyone else commenting on that? Is there anyone opposed to yes to number 2? Hearing none, I'll mark that as unanimous yes. Number 3, the variance will be consistent with the comprehensive plan, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Jill DeLong, I believe that it is consistent with the comprehensive plan, especially the lakeshore living policies under number 2, which is encourage shoreline protection and restoration methods such as vegetative buffers.
All right, we have a yes for number 3. Any additional comments? Anyone opposed to yes for number 3? Hearing none, mark that as unanimous yes. Number 4, the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Jill DeLong, I believe that wanting to replace a broken down home with a new home in a similar location on your property is a reasonable manner.
All right, we have a yes for number 4. Anyone disagree? We'll mark that as unanimous yes. Number 5, the plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner.
Madam Chair, Dave Gamrod.
Go ahead, Dave.
I would say it's unique to the property, the shape of the property and slopes and stuff. The landowner has done a good job with planning to improve water, and I think it should be noted that.
Okay, we have a yes for number 5. Does anyone disagree? Hearing none, we'll mark that as unanimous yes. Number 6, the variance, if granted, maintains the essential character of the locality, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, the applicant is constructing a structure that's similar in size to what's already there, and it will not change the essential character.
And also, I think we can note that all of the cleanup efforts that he indicated probably has really improved the character of the locality. We have a yes for number 6. Anyone opposed to that? Mark that as unanimous yes. Number 7, the need for the variance involves more than economic considerations.
Madam Chair, Jill DeLong.
Go ahead, Jill.
I believe it involves more than economic considerations, especially considering the legal right for that power line that pre-exists the building of the current structure there and pre-exists the applicant owning the property. So yes, it involves more than economic consideration.
Any additional comments for 7? Anyone opposed to yes for 7? Hearing none, I'll mark that as unanimous yes. We are now ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, I would make a motion that we approve the variance request by the applicant to construct a 54 by 26 residential dwelling with an attached garage and a 16 by 8 deck that is ahead of the established building line with just one condition, and that is to put a native plant buffer that would extend 32 feet landward of the ordinary high water level and 65 feet along the shore from the south property boundary.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, Mike Kane, I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I will do roll call. Jill?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. So that is 6 yeses. Motion carries. Your variance has been granted. And thank you for being with us this evening, Mr. Fost.
And thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay. I have one question of staff before we move to close the public hearing. I was just looking over the sheet as far as renewing of membership. Has Jacob indicated an interest in renewing, or don't we know what's happening with that position? Okay, we don't know. Okay, so Jacob.
Kelly or Lori may have more information.
Okay, is there someone else out that's logged in that might have more?
Madam Chair, Shelley Benson, Environmental Services Director. It's my understanding that he put in an application. I will verify that, but I was under that impression from administration, but.
Okay, and it's not necessarily that the commissioners will appoint him in that position, but at least we have somebody that's interested in it.
Right, but we don't have a lot of applicants, so I would encourage all of you to have conversations with people that you know in the community, or people that you think would be good members that can think, about how we act as a county, and try to get some additional new blood into the system, because we would like to have as many people serve either on the Planning Commission or on the Parks Board or the Board of Adjustment, any of our committees and boards. So we are always interested, and if there are people that want to serve, we would really appreciate you encouraging people to apply within their district and or for an at-large position. And that is, those are all shown on the county website, our openings. But we definitely would encourage people to apply for those types of positions.
And that at-large position does open it up to anyone in the county. We wouldn't have to worry about which district they're from.
Right, and Jacobs is an at-large position.
Right. Okay, does staff have anything else for us this evening? It doesn't look like it. Are there any board members that had anything else they wanted to discuss this evening before we adjourn? Hearing none, I'll take a motion. Yeah, just a moment.
Madam Chair, actually, this is Sean.
Sean? Okay, go ahead, Sean.
I just wanted to mention that I think in some of those, when we talked about earlier about the minutes and the notations there, that a couple of those were actually just split opinions, and that's why they said yes and no, and we had all voted, and there were 6 of us, but there were a few of them that were 3 yeses and 3 nos, and I think it was maybe just an odd notation of that, and maybe it's just a clarification that's needed on that. That's all.
All right, thank you for that comment. Any other comments before we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Mike Kane, second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned, and I hope you all have a great Christmas, New Year's holiday time. Hopefully,
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Sean,
Yes,
is this
thanks,
your last
everyone.
Meeting? Sean, is this your last meeting?
No.
Oh, are you going to be on it?
Well,
I thought you were on the Planning Commission, so you only served a year.
as far as I don't know, maybe is this last meeting? Ask Shelley Benson.
Jill, you are correct. So this would be Sean's last meeting.
Oh, well,
So-
it's been real.
Just as he starts to get the hang of it, he has to go off. So we will
No
have a
doubt.
new member for you in January.
All right. Well,
Thank you,
it's
Sean.
been a pleasure working
Thanks,
with
everyone.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Nice,
News
nice
to me.
to be with you, Sean.
All right.